frustration here is that there's a lot of technical stuff involved in this whole procedure. Now, Deputy Rabbit, can I just say, Chair, to the Deputy, that Deputy mentioned a young man there, and can I say he can make a proposal under IHAP. Nothing stopping him from doing that. And the Act also requires, because the Deputy mentioned something about him not knowing what to do, requires the TUSLA to consult a legal advisor in the application for status for an unaccompanied minor. I'm also sad to say as well that the Deputy is incorrect. I must point out that recipients of subsidiary protection can apply for family reunification here, but not in other countries. So the Deputy made a number of mistakes in her speech. She was actually wrong, factually wrong, what she said. So so just the Deputy, that gentleman can apply under IHAP, that young man can, and also people in subsidy protection can apply for family reunification here, but not in other countries. So we need to get the facts right about what we're talking about here. What we're concerned about really is using the resources to assist family members in other countries who are under terrible pressure and bring them here. I listed the 10 countries that the UNHCR have recommended. That can actually change, and it's going to be reviewed in July, as I understand it. And I listed 10 countries that we're focusing on. We want to put our resources into those 10 countries. Can I say that also anyone outside the year that was mentioned can avail of the non-EEA policy document as applied by INISH. So there's another pathway there that the Deputy obviously is not aware of. Well, I mean, I'm just saying what the facts are here. I also want to point out that the Deputy Rabbit mentioned earlier on about IHAP and mentioned a whole lot of family members. Can I point out that her definition of family is covered by the Act and by IHAP as well? So, I mean, there's a lot going on here, and, you know, in a way it's a pity that we don't have pre-legislative scrutiny of private members' bills, you know, it's because all government bills have to go through pre-legislative scrutiny, and they have to be analysed and studied and go through all kinds of scrutiny before they reach this here, which is massive. I did a lot of that when I was chair of the committee. It's extremely valuable, and all these technical issues can actually be teased out, but that's not possible before the bills reach here. Can I also talk about?
Deputy Dáil will be replying.
If the bill passes here at second stage, it then goes to pre-legislative scrutiny. A message comes back to the Dáil, and then the Dáil decides whether that's accepted or not, and then a money message.
I'm sorry, that's fine, but there's no provision for that cross debate at the House now.
Can I just make a point?
We're running out of time, unfortunately.
Can I just make a point there about what Deputy Collins said? I want to reassure the Deputy that Ireland is to the forefront of responding to humanitarian crisis. We are one of the 4 countries to pioneer search and rescue. We were the only country to offer Calais, unaccompanied minors, guaranteed programme refugee status. We said up to 200. We never said actually 200. It was up to 200 in the motion, not 200. And we had 15 different trips out there to see if we could actually identify people who wanted to come here. We are among the few EU member states to offer shelter to those stranded on boats in the Mediterranean. The NGOs quoted as supported this bill. The NGOs quoted as supported this bill also welcomed IHAP. It is clear to all that the situation existed around the time of the 1996 Act has radically changed. That is why we are among the very few countries proactively delivering on humanitarian responses in a compassionate and timely way. And IHAP is extremely flexible, and that's why we have it. And it works. And I already quoted earlier on, Deputy Rabbit wasn't in the House, the numbers that actually, in a very, very short time, that we'll be bringing in here under IHAP. And it really works. It's flexible, and the Minister has discretion. And the bill that the deputies are actually supporting now gets rid of that discretion and could actually do pilot damage. And that's my concern. Could I say in some EU countries the time limit is 3 months and economic conditions apply? Our legislation does not do that. In Germany, anyone granted subsidiary protection was prohibited from family reunification for the past 2 years. We allow such applications. So, can I also just join with Deputy Wallace in commending Wexford, his own constituency? He has been to the forefront in welcoming refugees. Maybe the Deputy has something to do with that. Wexford local authority is to be commended in its welcoming and housing of refugees. Unfortunately, I'm aware of the protests outside. I myself have been targeted quite a bit because of this very recently. Can I say that Ireland has played a global positive role in the Global Compact Minister Flanagan will sign it next week on behalf of the country. Many other countries have pulled out of that. Can I also make the point that family reunification is not about breaking up family units abroad to extend a family unit here. We've got to be careful of that too. We're focusing on families who really need our humanitarian assistance now. That's what we want to do. That's what IHAP does. So I would urge deputies to think again about supporting this bill. Because this bill, and I mean, people know me here, I'm passionate about this. This bill, I believe, can do a lot more harm than good. And I would ask the deputies to look at it again and maybe withdraw it and let some others think about it. Maybe in the committee. Maybe the committee could convene and discuss the bill beforehand. We are definitely not in the position. I could go on for another hour about this, but I haven't the time, unfortunately. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that, Minister, and we can't.